All right, here we go with 6th grade Excel, lesson number 35. This is a long lesson, so we're going to get cooking right away here. We're going to be learning all about decimals today. Until now, we've been working with the places to the left of the decimal point. Now we look at the places to the right of the decimal. So far, we've been dealing with numbers going over this way. Ones, tens, hundreds, thousands, and so on. Now we're going to be looking at numbers to the right of the decimal point. Here's the decimal point. The first place after the decimal point is called the tenths. I suggest real strongly that you guys get a hold of the Rockin' the Standard song, Place Value Rap, and memorize that song, play it over and over again. It's really going to help you with learning this type of material here, because in the song it says, let's take it to the right of the decimal point. We've got tenths, hundredths, thousands, ten thousandths. We're not going to learn these two places out here today, but we are learning tenths and hundredths. And then the song says, smaller than a 1 with a TH. These numbers over here to the right of the decimal are all equal to smaller. Their value is less than a 1, and the words all have THs in them. Notice we have tens here, tenths here, the TH being added into that word. Hundredths here, hundreds here. We have a TH added into this word to make it be the hundredths place instead of the hundreds place. All right, here's some charts showing you what these decimals actually are worth. Here's the whole number 1. This is the ones place. That's one whole, let's say, sandwich or something like that. If I take the sandwich and I cut it this way 9 times, making 10 slices, 3 of those slices would be represented by putting 0.3, 3/10ths of one sandwich. If I cut the sandwich again this direction, making 100 little teeny tiny bites, then 7 of those they are represented by 7 hundredths, or a 7 in the hundredths place. Another way of thinking of this is 37 hundredths. 37 hundredths. Why? Because if I combine these two together, I can take these 3 slices, move it over to here. Here's a slice, here's a slice, and here's a slice right there. And you can see that I have 10, 20, 30, 31, 32, because there's 10 little bites in each one of these. 10 bites, 20 bites, 30 bites, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37. 37 hundredths. And you can see that right there. That's the number 37, 37 hundredths. This should be a review for you. So I'm going pretty fast, I know, but if you need to watch it again, then pause the video and go back and look at it again. Here we go with changing mixed numbers into decimals. Remember, this is called a mixed number. It's got a whole number, it's got a fraction. Mixing together 2 types of numbers. It's a mixed number. So how do I write this as a decimal? 2 is the whole number. That's in the ones place. 3/10ths is written after the decimal. The first place after the decimal is called the tenths place. I'm saying there are 3/10ths. 2 and 3/10ths. Pause the video, do number 2, turn it back on to see the solution. You should have written 3 for the whole number and 7/10ths. That 7 is in the tenths place, first spot right after the decimal. Now we go to hundredths. Here we have 4 and 30 hundredths. How do I write that? Write this on your paper. 4 and 30 hundredths. Notice that I have 2 spots past the decimal and 2 zeros right here. I have to, on the hundredths, I have to have 2 numbers after the decimal point. I have to have this number written in the exact same order right here. If I had the number 4 here, it would be 04, 04 hundredths, because the number 4 is not the same thing as 40. I can't put a 0 after the 4, but I can put it before the 4 to make sure I have 2 spots after the decimal point when I want to say that it's hundredths. Now that I've given you that giant clue, pause the video, do number 4 on your own, turn it back on when you're ready for the solution. You should have written 1 for the whole number and decimal point. If you wrote 1.60, you got it wrong, because this number is not the number 60. If you wrote 1.6, you got it wrong, because this is not tenths. That 6 is in the tenths place. This is 6 hundredths, not 6/10ths. So this would be incorrect as well. You should have written 1.06, because the number 6 is the same thing as 0.6. That's 1 and 6 hundredths. Now we're going to go in reverse. Here's 3.07. we're going to change this back into a mixed number. So this would be the whole number 3, and then that's 7 after the decimal point. I don't need to write the 07. It's kind of like this last problem over here. But then I do want to put not the number 10, because that would be 3.7. That's 3 7/10. This is 3 7/100. So I need to put a 0, an extra 0 on there to make it 3 7/100. Pause the video, do numbers 6, 7, and 8. Turn it back on when you're ready for the solution. Okay, you should have written 2 8/10. This is in the tenths place. I put a 10 there. 8 36/100. 36, that's in the hundredths place right there. I need 2 zeros to go with my 2 digits, 36/100. And the last one, 2 80/100. Again, it couldn't be 80/10. It's 80/100. Another way of writing that is 8/10, not 80/10, because that 0 is pretty meaningless there. All right, let's move on. Write each as a decimal number. Okay, so we have 2 different ways of doing this. And this is one way, and that's the second way. It's then repeated down here. I'm going to do this with you together. The 2 of us will do this, and you're going to do these 2 on your own. So follow along with me, and make sure you learn how to do it before you go to numbers 11 and 12. 205 16/100. How do I write this as an actual digit number, as a decimal number? 205, the word "and" indicates decimal point. Everything before this is what I write before the decimal point. Then after the decimal point, I write that number. This tells me what spot my number should end up in. Where does the number end in the final spot, the final place value? So it should end in the hundredths place. So the part before the decimal is 205. Need a 0 in there to hold the empty place of the tens place. Decimal point for the word "and" then I write the number 16, and that this should be in the hundredths place. Is it? Tenths, hundredths. Yes, I did that correctly. The next one is just a bunch of numbers mixed up, and you have to figure out where they go. I put a 3 in the tens place. Here's the decimal, ones, tens. 1 in the hundredths place, and 2 in the hundredths place. Nothing in the tenths, 2 in the hundredths. I got to come back and fill in that 0, and I also noticed that there was nothing mentioned for the ones place, so I need a 0 for the ones place as well. The way you actually read this number is 130 and 2 hundredths. It's in the hundredths place, not the tenths. All right, pause the video, do 11 and 12, turn it back on when you're ready to see the solution. All right, you should have probably, if you want to do this and make it real easy on yourself, circle the word "and", underline this, put a squiggly under that just like I did up here. 186 goes before the decimal, and is the decimal point. 92 hundredths. Got 92 after the decimal. This next one has 2 tenths. Let's put the decimal point in. First spot after the decimal is the tenths place. 3 hundredths, that's going to be way out here. 4 ones, and 1 hundredth. The hundredths place is the second one after the decimal. I didn't see any mention of tens, so I'm going to put a 0 in the tens place. The way you read this is 304 and 21 hundredths. 304 and 21 hundredths. Whenever decimal numbers are added or subtracted, the decimal points must be lined up. Also, any whole number has an assumed or invisible decimal point. So 3 can be written as 3, 3.0, or 3.00 without changing its value. 4 can be written as 4, 4.0, 4.00, and so on. 7, 7.0000. It's all just 7. The decimal point is right after the number. There's 2 ways to read decimal numbers. I can say 3.42 or 3 and 42 hundredths. This one can be read 4.01 or 4 and 1 hundredth. We're going to write the words for each of these numbers. Do this first one with me. This is 124.07, 124.07. So I'm going to write 124. Remember, decimal point, we say the word "and". And then I just say whatever's after the decimal point, 7, and then I write the name of the last place that the number ended in. The 0 is in the tenths place, the 7 is in the hundredths place. I don't say anything about tenths. I just say 7 hundredths. Notice how I spell hundredths. You need to spell that right. It's the word hundred, TH, and then an S. All right, pause the video, do number 14. Turn it back on when you're ready to see the solution. You should have written 307. 307's before the decimal point. Remember, and for the decimal point. And then whatever's after it, we just write the word first. It's the number 1. And then I name the last place that you see. The last place in this number is tenths place. I don't say tenths in this case because there's only one of them. It wouldn't make sense to say 1/10ths. That's like saying 1 dogs. Makes no sense to put the S on there. It's not plural. All right, here are some addition and subtraction problems with decimals. The trickiest part here for you guys is 2 things. Number 1, lining up the decimal. You got to make sure that the decimal points are lined up. The second thing is that you cannot do nothing, take away a number. You have to regroup in that situation. And we start off with a problem just like that. So a lot of kids are going to put, in this subtraction problem, they're going to put a 2 down here. That is incorrect. We can't do nothing, take away 2 is 2. This is like the number 0 in there because there's nothing there. Now let me erase that. And so put a 0 in any spots that are just kind of open like that, then it'll be easier for you. 0 take away 2, I have to regroup from the 9, make it an 8. That's 10 minus 2, which is 8. It's not equal to 2. 8 minus 5 is 3. Put the decimal point in, it comes straight down. And 8 minus 7 is equal to 1. Okay, go ahead and pause the video, do just number 16. Turn the video back on when you're ready to see the solution. 8 minus 0 is 8. 7 minus 8, can't do it. Regroup from the 5 and make it a 4. 17 minus 8 is 9. Put a decimal point that comes straight down. 4 minus 3 is equal to 1. 1.98 or 1 98/100ths. The next one, don't forget that the number 2, any whole number, has an invisible decimal point right there. Fill in the zeros that come in those empty spots. Pause the video. I'd like you to do 17 through 20, all the way down to 20. Turn the video back on when you're ready to see the solutions. Okay, 17, 1 minus 0, 2 minus 0, decimal point, 8 minus 2 is 6. Pretty simple problem. This is a tricky one now. You have to put the decimal point and the zeros in there. 0 minus 1, can't do it. You go to borrow from the 0, can't borrow from a 0. You got to borrow from that 5. We're going to box this off and call it 50. 40. I do have a video on the box trick. You might want to look that up on our class website. It's the subtraction box trick. And 10 minus 1 is equal to 9. 49 take away 0 is 49. The decimal point comes straight down. 4.99. That's probably the hardest problem that you're going to see on this page. 5 is equal to 5.00. Notice the decimal points are lined up. That invisible decimal point that comes after the 5 needs to be placed in there. 0 plus 8 is 8. 7 plus 4 is 11. Carry the 1. 7, decimal point comes straight down, 7.18. Here we have zeros, 7, 14, 18. Carry the 1. That's equal to 6. And bring that decimal point into your answer, 6 87/100ths. Okay, these last 3 are written horizontally, side to side, and we want to make sure we write the problems up and down or vertically. So what we have to do is take one of the numbers at least and move it over so it's above or below the other number. In this case, in the subtraction problem, this second number has to end up below the first number. I'm not going to do 0.2 minus 2.85. It's 2.85 minus 0.2. So I line up my decimal point. I put a 2 right here, right after the decimal, and add in my missing zeros. Put a subtraction sign. Go ahead and write that on your paper. 5 minus 0 is 5. 8 minus 2 is 6. Put a decimal point. 2 minus nothing is 2. So the answer is 2.65. All right, pause the video. Try 22 and 23. Turn it back on when you're ready to see the solution. On this one here, I would have put the 3 up above as long as you write it vertically somehow. I don't care where it goes so much. And I put the decimal point here. Notice that 3 is equal to 3.00. Decimal points are all lined up. Add them together. This 0.2 is the same thing as 0.20. 7 8 and 3. Got to get the decimal point in there, otherwise it's completely wrong. 4.3 minus 0.28, put the decimal point below there, 28. I'm going to fill in that 0, and I'm going to subtract. Now I can't do 0 minus 8. I have to regroup by borrowing from the 3, make that a 2. 10 minus 8 is 2. 2 minus 2 is nothing. Decimal point, and then you have a 4 right there, for 4 minus nothing is 4. Thanks for watching.